Coach, if you don't mind, if you want to just start us off maybe with some opening thoughts on the team as it's progressing to the opener, then we'll take questions.
We're back at it within 2 weeks of a game, and 2 practices this week, day off, a couple more practices, and then we get into a in-week game routine that we're all excited about. So guys are working hard, and just looking forward to getting a few more practices in before the first game.
Thanks, Coach. Our first question today is going to come from Robert Allen. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, Mike, how hard has it been with everything to try and find a routine? And I know that's what you're looking to get into now, to try and get into that game week routine and get everybody, where they know what's going to happen next. How hard has all that been?
Well, it's been difficult with just all the COVID testing and players sitting out and adjusting schedules over the last month based on who you had available and who wasn't available by position. We're in a pretty good routine right now. I feel comfortable about this week, and I feel comfortable about next week.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Joseph Fazio of the O'Colly. Go ahead, Joseph.
Mike, now that Spencer Sanders has 1 year under his belt as starting QB, what level of growth and maturity and leadership have you seen from him?
I think he's developing into a leader on our football team because he's a returning starter. He understands our culture, day-to-day operation within our program. The players respect him because of his competitive nature. And he's a little different than he was at this time last year.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Our next question comes from Jenny Carlson of the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hey, Mike, late last year, maybe second half of the year, your defense definitely helped you guys win some games. Obviously, with so many guys back, that looks to continue. But in your mind, when you think about this defense, how do they continue to have impact on your team this season?
Well, we're mature on that side of the ball. We've got a number of players that have had quality reps in big games. I feel comfortable with where we're at from a health standpoint on that side of the ball. Their attitude seems to be really good. Hopefully they'll continue to work hard. They've come together. They've practiced very well up to this point. As we move through the season, it'll obviously be a big impact with the offenses that we see in this league.
Well, I was going to ask, that's kind of a follow-up I was wondering about. As you look around the league, it seems like this is a year where you've got some experienced quarterbacks, some offenses. I mean, offenses are always scoring, but is the premium on having a defense that, could make some game-winning plays, does that even rise in a season like this?
Sure it does. In this league, we see a lot of offense. We all know that. And interestingly, we assume that the league will have young quarterbacks and we won't see as much. But over the last 10 years, this league has continued to put quarterbacks out that play well even in their first season. So I would assume you'll see a lot of offense in this league, and defenses have to do the best they can to get off the field.
Cool. Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from Max Olson of The Athletic. Go ahead, Max.
Hey, Mike, as we get closer to kicking off here, still don't know what the requirements are going to be in terms of postponing the game. I guess what's your personal opinion on where you hope that stuff ends up?
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
In terms of how many players you need available to play a game.
I don't have any idea where that's going. I haven't heard anything about total number of players availabilities in several weeks. I couldn't even answer that question.
Okay. Got no opinion on just how many players you would need available to safely play a game?
No, I don't have any opinion on any of that.
Okay. Thanks.
Our next question comes from Gary Nemig of the Tulsa World.
Hey, good morning, Mike. I was wondering if you could shed some light on what looks to have been a really interesting day in your program Friday with you pausing practice to break into groups and discuss some things that are going on.
Well, we let the players have input on the situation, and so the seniors kind of led the way and got together and had some discussions and got some good information, and then back to work today.
Could you give me a sense? You were in a group yourself, right, with some players?
Everybody was scattered throughout the building. Yes.
Yeah. Can you give me a sense of what you learned, if anything, from your participation in your group?
Well, it was just listening. Everybody was just listening to an opinion on how people felt.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from Jason Elmquist of the Stillwater News Press. Go ahead, Jason.
Thanks for your time, Mike. Obviously, I think it was last year you mentioned the need to possibly have two quarterbacks ready because of issues with injuries that we've seen over the years. Obviously, it happened again last year. With that in mind, what's the battle at QB2 been like so far this fall?
Well, both guys are doing really well. We've split reps with them. We're going to make a decision at this time next week on who that quarterback will be. But I've been pleased with, really all three quarterbacks in their development under Coach Rattay.
Do you give those guys an opportunity to work with the ones at all to kind of get a feel in case they are called up, or is it Spencer solely getting those ones right now?
They get a little work with the ones. We always let those guys get some work, but for the majority of it, it's Spencer.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Our next question comes from Scott Wright of the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Scott.
And Mike, you talked about Spencer's change as a leader. What have you seen on the field that he has improved? Not necessarily leadership, but performance on the field.
He competes. He plays hard. He likes football. Understanding of concepts and defenses is going to be improved from last season based on experience.
And obviously he went through some growing pains in the middle of the year. Is some of that stuff with taking care of the ball and those sorts of things, are those things you're going to have to learn in season to see if he's overcome that, or can you tell in practice right now?
I thought he improved as the season went on last year before his injury, but his ability to protect the ball in the pocket will be very important. We all know the difference in turnovers and non-turnovers. So we drill him and we continue to work him, and his experience should benefit him in that area.
Thanks, Mike.
Our next question comes from Cody Nagel of Go Pokes. Go ahead, Cody.
Mike, earlier this preseason, Coach Dunn said that Brennan Presley is going to be a special player at Oklahoma State. What have you seen from him so far during camp, and is that something that you can agree with?
Well, he's a young player that's a little further along than other freshmen because he competes. He goes out every day. He's not concerned with total number of reps. You can give him 200 reps and he's going to continue to fight and compete. He likes to play the game of football and he has a tremendous attitude. Those are really key ingredients in a freshman being able to compete early in their career.
Do you anticipate him being a factor, I guess, on special teams and maybe the return game?
I would anticipate throughout the season of him being a factor offensively and on special teams.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from Barry Trammell of the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Mike, you've 15 years, you've had seasons where you've had to break in a new quarterback. You've had seasons where you've got a veteran returning. How much better is the outlook for a season? How much smoother does things go? How much more optimism is there in general when you've got a proven quarterback coming back, whether it's Zach Robinson or Brandon Whedon or Mason Rudolph or now Spencer?
Spencer's further along than he was at this time last year. He still has a ways to go. He missed quite a few games with injury. So I'm not sure that he falls in the category of a veteran seasoned quarterback. I would say that in the latter part of this season, if he continues to work and compete, that he can get in that category. But it's a much smoother process now than it was a year ago because we were splitting reps with the two guys that we had. And, at this time now, Spencer gets the majority of the reps.
What do you see as his upside? How good can he be?
Oh, I mean, I know it's hard to predict. I know that he's highly competitive, which is the most important aspect of being a good college quarterback. He's not scared, which is the second most important in being a good college quarterback. And he continues to develop in the throwing game. His ability to run the football is going to always be there. So as he understands defensive structures and how to distribute the ball in our offense, he should continue to get better over the next couple of years.
Thanks, Mike.
Our next question comes from Jared Alatorre of the O'Colly. Go ahead, Jared.
Coach, good morning. There's a lot of depth and balance around the team, but when it comes to the offensive linemen, there's obviously been some recent changes and shifts. What are your thoughts or even concerns when it comes to that position?
We have some new guys that'll play in the offensive line, but I've got confidence in Coach Dickey to get him ready, and I have confidence in Coach Dunn to simplify the system to give him the best chance to play full speed and have success.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Jacob Unruh of the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Mike. I think we're in week 3 of talking with you now, and I don't know that we really talked about Chuba. What kind of improvements have you seen from Chuba this camp?
Well, Chuba's practiced really well. He had a really good week last week. He's practicing full speed and getting back into a routine where he's out there and taking a few hits and getting ready to play.
I know you were going to limit him in the spring and everything and try to find some depth. How important is it to establish some guys behind him this season?
Well, the guys behind him have gotten a lot of work. So I feel comfortable with those players. These next 10 days will be big days for Chuba, conditioning-wise, getting back into a routine of getting banged around a little bit, taking some hits, taking care of the football. But I like where he's at now. But the next 10 days will be important for his progression to get ready for the season.
Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Next question comes from Robert Allen. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, Coach, you've always kind of prided yourself on having your team ready for the atmosphere on Saturday. And I don't think any of us know what it's going to be like. I think they're finishing up today participating in the ticket selection. But have you thought about what it's going to be like on Saturdays with only 15,000 or so in the stands, no spirit people on the field? I mean, it's going to be a crazy environment.
We always use the term in our organization about controlling what we can control, Robert. And we can't control how many people are in the stands. There's been a limit put on it by the university. So I'm guessing that we'll max that out based on the excitement of people that want to watch Cowboy football. Everywhere I go, that's what I hear. So we'll fill it up as much as we can. And once the games get going, the players will be focused on the game, and I don't think it'll affect us much from the game standpoint. And hopefully, as the season goes on, we can get more people in the stands.
Might be easier to communicate with guys on the field because the noise level won't be nearly what it's been. You'll probably be able to shout some instructions.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Noise for us has never been an issue the way we practice, but there's a chance that coach might be able to yell from the sideline. The players hear him, I guess, based on the way it's going to be for the first game.
Thanks.
Our next question comes from Chris Becker of the O'Colly. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Coach. How you doing?
Good.
So 2020 has been pretty rough for a lot of reasons on everybody. But if you guys go far in the season and reach those high expectations fans have put out, would it make 2020 any better for you personally?
Well, the first thing is it's not about me personally. It's about the players. You know, we've got a group of young men that haven't had any direction until about 2 weeks ago. Now they have direction, and so they've come together as a group and have worked hard and understand we're almost to the starting gate. So I'm just excited for those guys that want to play football, have the opportunity to get out there and play football.
Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from Garen Emig of the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Garen.
Mike, heading into a season, is it more important for a coach to know what his O-line can block or what his quarterback can do with the ball, or are they one and the same?
Oh, I think they're similar. It's important for us as coaches to know our players so we understand our concepts and not put them in a situation to where we're asking them to do too much on any given Saturday. So we have to be careful with concepts we use and also not ask our players to have success in areas that they're not really capable of having success.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, down to our last couple questions. Our next question comes from Barry Trammell of the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Mike, I've watched some NBA games in the Orlando bubble, and I saw something similar actually in a couple of the high school games I watched over the weekend. With smaller crowds or no crowds with the NBA, it seems like the players on the bench and the sidelines are sort of creating their own excitement and lifting up their teammates even more. Is that something you've seen maybe in practice as well? And is that something you anticipate perhaps when we start playing games with these reduced crowds?
I thought our practices have been very enthusiastic. The temperament and the way our team and other teams handle it on game day with reduced stadium capacities will be really interesting. I wouldn't know which way to comment on that, but I do think it's going to be very interesting. I haven't watched any games on TV, so I can't really comment on that. But it'll be interesting to see how the teams react with the smaller stadium size.
And our final question will come from Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Scott.
And Mike, could you shed a little bit of light on what the kickers and punters have looked like? We haven't had a chance to talk to you about that this preseason.
The punters will be the same with the guys that we've had. And our kickers up to this point have practiced really well. I think that Alex Hale's got the nod right now in the PAT field goal department. But I've been pleased with our special teams and with our battery and punting and kicking up to this point.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Coach. Well, if you have any final thoughts, anything maybe that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to, this would be a good time as any.
I'm good. It's good to talk to you guys. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you.